Today we will be talking about the Paleozoic Era by Adam and myself. Changes were beginning to happen on Earth, but for the better or worse. The era began with the breakup of one continent, Pangaea, and the formation of another. Plants became common and began to spread along the newly land, and diverse vertebrate animals began to come onto land. The Paleozoic began with the Cambrian period, 53 million years, best known for ushering in an explosion of life on Earth. After the breakup of the supercontinent Rondania, landings formed in shallow seas as the Earth warmed up of the Ice Age in late Precambrian. Different organisms surfaced greatly in only 15 million years. Fossils from the period were known from the Burgess Shale, a rich material from the Canadian rocks. Most belonged to the groups of invertebrates in that period, but still held a few vertebrates. Shells from the mollusks helped to preserve such fossils from within the protection of them. Cambrian period, having the first evolved shelled organisms, reefs were even found in limestone floor with materials made from cyanobacteria. Trilobites were a very diverse species, yet had the tendency to be identified by the ridges along their spine. Seeing as they were arthropods, they had evolved to such a level they held an external skeleton made of chitin, a fibrous substance consisting of polysaccharides and forming the major constituent in the exoskeleton of arthropods in the cell walls of fungi. It can be a bit difficult identifying such things quickly, seeing as there are more than 600 types of these mud-burrowing scavengers. Ordovician period. More well-developed communities became life in the seas, even having the first land plants arrive. Possibly the most important period changes in that moment in life, it was when sea dwellers started to evolve into different beings, and plants began to form along the land above. Because of the arriving plants, this would give up more resources for sea creatures to develop onto land and survive in the oxygen, but also provide more oxygen into the atmosphere. The land masses of Gondwana was born during this period, made of South America, Australia, Antarctica, and partially Asia. Along the trilobites, chiropods became more common, now being among the most spread of the Paleozoic era. Vertebrates became more common and more insightful, such as jawless fish. Unknown for sure, scientists have become aware that the Ice Age or volcanic eruptions caused the ending of the Ordovician period. Silurian period. This period was the first time for the reefs to start building up and have the evolution of the fish. As time went on during the Silurian period, organisms became more varied on land at last. Because of the up and down warps of the plates that could go above and lower than sea level, shallow seas covered North America's vast plains. Another part was the massive flooding of the low-hanging sections of the continents. Like stated before, the forming reefs were located in these shallow seas and grew into large barriers that cut off into circulations between the marine basins and open ocean. They consisted of rigid vertical mounds of coral colonies, stromatoporoid sponges, and algae that were cemented together and could withstand strong wave action on the reef crest. Thus, evaporation took place, leaving rock salt and gypsum. The jawless fish developed thick armor plates as they survived these rock reef formations. They then started to change, as well as another creature known as the Euryptids. The land plants began to change into diverse vascular plants, having small tubes inside their cells that helped move liquid. Trace fossils also helped to give off the clue that arthropods had begun to evolve and change into the adopted land. The Euryptids were also named the sea scorpions because of their similar appearances. However, they are nothing alike to these land creatures. They did become extinct around the Permian Triassic times, yet are one of the most common fossils found in this period. By swimming, it is thought that they scrimmed their lower half to swim forward, with their high pinchers sweeping forward. Pinchers and telsons helped Euryptids to catch the slow-moving trilobites. The name was chosen due to the pair of wide swimming appendages on the first fossil Euryptids discovered. The largest, such as the Gecolopius, reached 2.5 meters in length, but most species were less than 20 centimeters. They were formidable predators that thrived in warm, shallow water in both seas and lakes from the mid-Ordovician to late Permian.
Period. Most of the sea was getting newly jawed fish, and amphibians were becoming to get lungs and 4 legs to walk on land. The Devonian started when most of the continents were in one continent named Laurasia. Then most of the amphibians were starting to walk on land, and they were adapting to have legs and to walk on land. The Devonian Sea was becoming more populated with different amphibians or forms and different things. Then more of the amphibians were laying eggs on land, and they were everywhere: land, water, and flying. The animals were frogs, toads, and salamanders, and are the descendants of early amphibians. Carboniferous period, when the development of the great coal swamp forests and amphibians and winged animals were more common. Carboniferous was the start of the coal forest, and the reptiles were evolved to what they are now. The continents were slamming into each other, forming into a supercontinent from form Appalachian Mountains. They also laid down deposits of calcium carbonate. The reptiles are learning how to lay eggs on land to leave their eggs. The coal swamps being large flying bugs and were evolving into new bugs. The Permian period. Earth's continents were joining into the supercontinent Pangea. The evolution of life during and ended in a big mass extinction. Permian period was when the supercontinent Pangea was forming and life was doing good. Then everything died in a mass extinction in history, and the oceans were getting new shapes and sizes. The climate was warming, and reefs were flourishing. The America was forming, and the oil deposits were forming. Then it all ended in a mass extinction that happened 250 million years ago. Mammals were forming and getting bigger, and more things were forming.